ask. It's amazing how many comments you get about your facial features there. You ain't handsome. You know you get all of that shit. I welcome it all from you viewers, and I appreciate you guys who tune in every night. We do this generally most weeknights. We try to get on here most weeknights. Just as I mentioned to my YouTube audience before I got the show started, I am still somewhat under the weather. So you're going to hear me cough a little bit and all that other bullshit that comes along with having a cold, but we're going to make this work. We're going to have an abbreviated live. Let me make sure I get hold on real quick. I want to make sure I got my devices on Wi-Fi. Otherwise, I'll start having problems with the continuity of the signal. So I want to switch over to Wi-Fi. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, I'm still somewhat under the weather, so I may be sniffing and coughing a little bit, but we're going to make this work. It's going to be more of an abbreviated live as opposed to having a whole, host of amalgamated topics. We do have two topics in particular, and there's no doubt you've heard one, but the other one is kind of, I don't know if it just broke today, but nevertheless, when it's President Trump, it's in the news. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. Now, as many of you are aware, President Trump is talking about banning the burning of Old Glory. Now, burning the U.S. flag has been controversial probably since the nation was founded. It's probably been controversial since day one. However, it was ruled to be protected by the First Amendment and free speech in 1989 by the Supreme Court at the time. So, as a result, it is officially a protected free speech right, certainly as of the Supreme Court's ruling nearly 40 years ago. So President Trump is stating that by executive order, in fact, I believe he did it, by executive order, he's going to ban, if not, better yet, criminalize, that's the better word for this. He's going to criminalize flag burning with up to a year of incarceration. Now, like I stated, the Supreme Court has already ruled on this.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning that charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is excellent. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech, but there's another reason which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You can do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. No early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they?
Okay,
incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately, just like when I signed the Statute and Monument Act. 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that.
Now, I want to say something while he's signing this bill. It is amazing at how many different things we have deemed that are unreasonable, or who's going to pay for it, or federal programs we have cut since President Trump took the Oval Office for a second term. Yet, we actually have money to incarcerate, house, feed, and provide health care to somebody for an entire year simply because they burned the flag. I don't understand that. I just do not understand the whole notion of America is broke, we don't have money for anything. But if you burn the flag, we suddenly have enough money to completely take care of you for a year. This stuff is not resonating with me. Now, also what I want to talk about in regards to this flag burning before we get to the second topic, because I've been debating this one all day with some of my beloved MAGA online. And of course, as I always say, the program is indeed MAGA friendly. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You can be critical of the program, which I'm sure today some folks will be. But of course, you can be complimentary and you can make any comments you want without any concern of the host trying to block, ban, or censor you on this program. And if you favor that type of open dialogue, follow the program if you happen to be watching on Instagram, TikTok, and give your boy a sub if you're watching on YouTube. However, throughout my debating speaks, conversations with MAGA going on platforms, one thing I can tell you with overwhelming certainty is MAGA is in favor of taking this First Amendment right away from U.S. citizens. MAGA is overwhelmingly in favor of criminalizing the burning of the U.S. flag, even though it has been completely ruled by the Supreme Court to be a free speech, First Amendment protected right. Now, what's really troubling about this, as opposed to just speaking about it from a standpoint of, whether or not you support burning the flag, what's really troubling about this is the Trump supporters were overwhelmingly strong about the whole notion that re-electing Trump, nobody was going to lose any rights, freedoms, or privileges. All of that was liberal fear-mongering. Now that Trump is in office and stated that he's going to make flag burning illegal, within 24 hours of saying that, MAGA was overwhelmingly in favor of doing this, which what's really concerning about this, not from a flag burning aspect, but what's concerning about it is this. If he can convince MAGA that it's okay to take away this First Amendment right from U.S. citizens, what would make you feel confident that he can't convince them in the future to take away other rights? If you're worded properly, people are suddenly thinking, yeah, maybe some folks don't need that right. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Certainly, in addition to whether or not you support flag burning, we're going to take it from a standpoint of, do you think this is going to be the only right we're going to lose? Because we've been arguing on this program and many other platforms from day one. Everybody's been suggesting that the liberals and the Democrats are fear-mongering. Trump's not going to take away anybody's freedoms, privileges, or rights. Now it is officially at that point where Trump has officially taken away a right. From this point on, there is no more of anyone able to say he hasn't taken away a right, because this was obviously ruled on by the Supreme Court and he just took it away. So you have now had a right that has been lost. Now I'm going to go way deeper into that. I have a video coming out soon. Not necessarily going to cover it on this channel, but we'll get into some of it. I'll briefly cover it. But I do adamantly believe there are 5 rights, 5 of them, 5 rights that you are fairly certain to lose under the Trump administration. I'll talk about that in a little bit, because that's not what the show is about. I'm making a video about that, but I do believe there are 5 rights you are almost certain to lose under the Trump administration. It's not based on my feelings. It's based more on what has come out of Trump's mouth, the mindset of his supporters and what they have openly stated they support, and the likelihood that Trump has already, in many of these cases, talked about taking these rights away. 5 rights that I do not believe will survive the Trump administration. You are going to lose at least, and then I have 2 honorable mentions as well. We'll cover them briefly, but in addition to covering, losing rights and how you guys feel about the burning of the flag, this one just came out earlier today. I don't know if you folks have heard this, but I do want to play this clip for you if I can find it, because President Trump gave a 3-hour speech in the Oval Office. Shout out to Trump for just having a stamina that makes him appear to be 20 years younger. I don't always agree with what he says. I don't always believe what he's saying is being honest, but the man has stamina. The man can sit in front of the cameras and talk. And today he held a 3-hour press conference.
Capital punishment, capital. I don't think they care about it. So we want to close up the Washington buildings, sell the buildings off, let somebody else get rich with the real estate, because it'll be a crime-free city. By the way, speaking of that, anybody murders something in the Capitol, capital punishment, capital punishment. If somebody kills somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty. And it's a very strong preventative. And everybody that's heard it agrees with it. I don't know if we're ready for it in this country, but we have it. It is. We have no choice. So in D.C. and Washington, states are going to have to make their own decision. But if somebody kills somebody, like you could have been killed, very lucky you didn't get killed, it's the death penalty. Okay.
Now, real quick in the comments, I think I kind of know where this is going to go, but by way of yes or no in the comments, simply type yes or no. How many of you agree that you should, how many of you agree with him suggesting that he's going to impose the death penalty for all murderers in the city of DC? How many of you agree with that? Yes or no in the comments. I see, what is his name? Mental something says host was wrong about everything. Well, there's a hell of a lot of things I predicted that we have not found out about. So I see a lot of folks are saying, yeah, yes or no. Do you favor Trump stating that any murders in D.C. are going to lead to the death penalty? I want to say something real quick in regards to that. And we're going to go ahead and get into the show. Remember Biden's 1994 crime bill? How the Republicans beat him over the head with that? It was a bill at the time that was passed to be tough on crime during the crack epidemic because everybody wanted to come down on all of the drug use and drug dealers. And Biden was the one that authored the U.S. crime bill of 94. And of course, he needed Republican senators and Democrat senators because he was only a senator of Delaware at the time. I don't know why 30 years later they want to pretend like he did the crime bill by himself. But remember how many folks on the right bashed him over the head, suggesting that his crime bill put a hell of a lot of black people in jail? Notice you don't hear any of them saying anything but support for President Trump, who's also talking about a crime bill now and even a death penalty in a predominantly black city. Fact is, even though Trump is likely to affect crime in D.C., if temporary at least, what he is doing is going to net a lot of black people. And oddly enough, the same folks that saw Biden's action as racist or whatever they were trying to use to get Trump to reelect, they seem to be totally okay with it now. But there is no denying what Trump is doing is going to cause a hell of a lot of African-American incarceration. But I see plenty of you do agree with the death penalty in D.C. Some of you folks said no. Look, I'm not necessarily a fan of capital punishment, but there are some cases when things are really heinous and it's overwhelmingly obvious who committed the crime. And there's some cases where I might say that motherfucker deserved to die. But in most cases, when it's just eyewitness testimony, or not eyewitness testimony, but witness testimony, sometimes some criminal like Ghislaine Maxwell, for instance. I'm not going to have somebody lose their life based on the testimony of somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell, somebody serving time for a serious felony already. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people in prison spending the rest of their life in prison for testimonies for stuff like that. But what I do want to talk about before we continue on, and I'll start taking calls and going into the comment section is, how long do you think it'll be before President Trump gets rid of the mayor of D.C.? At this point, what is the purpose? I mean, he's flooding the city with police. He's taking over all of the buildings. He just stated here that they intend to sell the buildings off and let it be owned by other folks. So what is the job of the mayor of D.C. at this point? He's selling off all of the town's buildings of value to people that he controls. He's now implementing the death penalty. He's now sitting in the police force, had even laid off the police chief. What is the purpose of the mayor of that town? He just kind of essentially pushed her aside and took all of her duties. I don't see what any purpose of having a mayor of D.C. is at this point. And considering she's African-American and a woman, my guess is he'll be calling her a DEI within a few days as well. So I don't see why she's there. I don't see why there's any reason to have a mayor of that town with the president being involved in every aspect of how it's run now. He might as well just be the head of the town. And I'll tell you right off the bat, MAGA would agree with it 100%, which is why I talked about the 5 rights we may be losing. I'll interrupt the program in the middle, further down the line, and I'll tell you what those 5 rights are. So looking in the comments, King Finn says, I think that's the point. Yeah, The point is, Trump is going to be in control of D.C., and the mayor, the days of the mayor are limited. Now, it would not surprise me if you hear about him passing some kind of executive order stating that the job of mayor is being phased out, or they're combining it with the president or something like that. But I don't see what is the purpose whatsoever of having that job when you can take over the police force. You're selling off town's real estate. I mean, she's doing nothing at this point, but just kind of rolling over and playing dead. Okay, so looking in the comments, though, the sky is falling again. So Robert Kennedy, I don't know what that means. D.C. wants to be a state to have a governor and mayor. I bet you they really want that now because they have no control. I mean, they have no voting power. And, of course, with President Trump in there doing whatever he wants in a city full of liberals, this would be akin to taking a small Alabama town and forcing Al Sharpton to be in control of the town. The politics of the town is completely different than the guy that's running it. I mean, so at this point, it doesn't matter who they voted in to run their town. Doesn't matter if they voted in a black woman as mayor. He's running that town in a totally right-wing, far-right point of view, even though they voted in somebody who's a progressive. Their vote for who runs that town at this point is totally irrelevant. Looking in the comments, as far as DC crime, Trump always said, if you want something done, do it right yourself. Well, I don't know if he's doing it right. He's doing it his way, and he believes his way is right. So we'll leave it at that. Point is, the mayor wasn't doing shit. Well, I think if you gave the citizens of DC the option of who would control their city between Trump and their current mayor, they probably would not pick Trump. So you can say they're not doing shit, but the people of DC do not want Trump running their town. Willard Coleman, good evening. Welcome to the program, Willard. Now, I'm going to, if we bring, good evening, Willard. Willard.
Yes, good evening.
Hey, so what do you think? The whole flag burning, which has been controversial in America since the beginning of time, but it is a First Amendment protected right according to the Supreme Court. Trump is just going to throw that aside and make it legal. Do you favor Trump skirting the ruling of the Supreme Court and just doing what he wants in this case?
No, I don't favor a racist old white man doing what he wants because he's back in time. And when this policy start hurting white people, then they gonna turn against him. As long as right now he got his fingers in their eyes doing things to black mayors and things that benefit black people, they're happy. But once this thing turn around and start hurting them, when this grain stops selling, when it start getting on their table, they gonna start. You gonna see a full 360.
Yeah, but Willard, I will say this: ever since Trump has taken office, people have been predicting Armageddon. They said by July we were going to be in a recession and you weren't going to be able to afford barbecue for the 4th of July. And it turns out all of that was wrong. So is it possible that maybe you're making a prediction like many on the left have that may never culminate?
No, it's really, it's gonna come. It's coming. When this thing gonna turn around, and like I said, it's not gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt when it start hurting these white people. Right now, it's not. They think it's just gonna hurt. They think it's just gonna hurt the black people, the black mayors, and I think some of the. It's just gonna make things worse for these people.
Well, let me ask it to you this way. What do you believe is going to happen that's going to be painful to white America?
When the economy slow down and it start getting in their pockets. When their bills get where they can't get paid, they wonder how they gonna pay their bills and stuff.
Yeah, but
that's when it's gonna hurt them.
Yeah, but here's a question I kind of wonder. You ever heard of the phrase "in the middle of Fifth Avenue"? You know what I'm talking about? President Trump in the middle of Fifth Avenue?
Right.
So, okay, so the question I'm going to ask is, are you confident that even if Trump does something that starts to negatively affect white America, are you confident that they will turn their back on him?
They're gonna turn against him. They're gonna turn against him just as sure as 1, 2, 3. They're gonna turn. It take a while, but they're gonna turn against him because after a while they're gonna figure out he's just a Yankee. He's a Yankee, and they're gonna figure that after a while they're gonna figure out he's a Yankee.
But did they not? But Willard, did the liberals not say the same thing when it came to the Epstein list about how they were going to turn on him if he didn't produce the Epstein list? To this day, he's produced absolutely. MAGA is still strongly in favor of Trump.
Still though, they doing everything they can because they know in 2026 they going. If they don't do something to stay in power, it's all over anyway.
Well, let me interrupt quick. For you folks that are tuned in on TikTok, because me and Willard is having a conversation, fine. Are you guys seeing the live freezing up? I see some folks are saying it's freezing up. Let me know if it is acting normal. Otherwise, I may have to reset it and come back for a quick second here. The tariff will cause American businesses to turn against Trump. It says fine here. Okay, so everybody's seeing the live good. Okay, so you do see then, Willard, that there's a possibility that white America will turn against it. But what aspects of American life are going to have to be hurting for you to see white America turning against Trump?
Trump, they would already be done turn against Trump. But see, the rich people take care of rich people. Trump told them not to turn. Trump told them when he tell them to hold the gas prices down, he wouldn't have never did that for no. They wouldn't have never did that for no Democrat administration. He told them to hold them gas prices because they know one of the things that hurt poor people is gas prices. Yeah. That's the reason why the rich people holding the gas prices down. Walmart is eating some of the tariffs. All the big companies, they eating some of it because they got the love of their life when they got the tax breaks. So that's the love of their life. So they hold them prices down to suit him because he gave them the love of their life, a tax break at that magnitude. So what would make you think that if things start going south in any area of our economy, isn't it possible Trump could give them the love of their life in some way or another again and keep prices or keep? He's gonna try to. He's gonna try to give them. He's gonna try to probably give them a stimulus. But right now, these big companies is eating some of them tariffs. They eating some of them. Well, you think they'll do that? It was a Democrat administration. No, the rich people are burning Democrat administration up because they're bringing them prices up so high.
Why is that? Why is it that the big corporations, and by the way, anybody on TikTok having problems, I'm seeing in the comments that you need to step out of the live and come back in, reboot, they're saying. But I'm going to ask you, Willard, why do you think that is? You're saying that the corporations would not play ball with the Democrats and give the benefits that they're giving Trump. Why do you think that is? Why are they favoring Trump when they would never favor a Democrat?
Because Trump gave them the love of their life. Tax breaks. Tax breaks mean a lot, man. Tax breaks mean the money that they got, and they get those tax breaks, that's money in the bank.
Yeah, but based on what you're saying, then it would make it would mean that Trump is a better president than the Democrats. I mean, okay, he's giving them tax breaks, and you're admitting that equates to them lowering prices for us customers so that we can still purchase stuff.
They trying to hold on as long as they can. They trying to hold on as long as they can. They eat those tariffs.
Okay.
As long as they can.
Oh, so you believe... Go ahead.
Because of the fact that he done went out there, he gonna be one of the most disgraceful, man. He done put his themselves out there. They got to go along with him.
So why do you think?
Go along with him.
Why do you think, despite what you're saying, that even the blacks that voted for Trump are still very happy with what they have seen so far? Despite what you're saying, most folks who voted for Trump seem to be fairly happy. Of course, there's some people in certain pockets, tourism industry and things like that, but for the most part, overwhelmingly, MAGA seems to be quite pleased with the performance of Trump.
Right, because they're racist people. They're
All
racist
of them?
people.
All of them?
All of them are racist people. Anytime you bet against your own interests, anytime you vote against your own interests, just for a white man, his whole cabinet is white people. White people believe in each other. They cut off the nose to spite the face.
Yeah, but
They
Willard,
cut the nose off to spite the face.
but Willard, you do realize.
Long as they think they're above black people, they are happy.
But you do realize that you do realize there's a hell of a lot of people that voted for Trump that are not white. He got he won the Hispanic male vote. He improved his percentage with black males. I mean, he won a lot of votes. Are you saying they're racist too, the Hispanics and blacks that voted for him?
Slave whoop slave.
Ooh.
For the master.
Ooh.
Slave whoop slave for the master.
Damn.
So that ain't. I worked at the prison for a couple of years. The convicts ran the prison. So that's just like slave. Convicts ran the prison.
Damn. So you're talking kind of like house Negroes mentality.
Say again.
So you're talking in reference to like a house Negro mentality.
I'm talking. That's exactly right. Black people mostly hate each other.
Damn.
They mostly hate each other. They want to be white and black. Black people want to be white and black.
So why do you think, okay, well, I just want to tackle this for a minute since you just said it. Why do you believe that black people, as you say, mostly hate each other? Obviously, you don't blame that on the white man, do you, that blacks hate each other?
They train us to hate each other. This is in our DNA. This came all the way down from the South. All the way from, they trained. See, I'm 76 years old. I've seen it happen.
Wow.
The same thing happening now, I've seen it happen. I'm 76 years old.
But is there any other...
Trump is on the old white man's trip. He on the old slavery type trip. I tell you, he's a real good con man. That's all he done. That's all he done all his life, con people. He tried to take his own family's inheritance.
I've heard rumors about that. I have heard about that. I'm not for certain that's true, but I have heard people say that.
If I tell you what, the day that his niece don't say nothing bad about him, is the day I'm gonna believe he all right.
All right, Willard, I do gotta move it on. This is our first time talking.
This is the second time I want to talk to you.
76. Wow. Bless your heart, man. Listen, anytime come through, doors are always open to you, Willard. Thanks for coming through.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you. All right, moving on with the program. That is Willard. Moving on with the program. Tyrant must not get out much, or its friend group wears mask without a clue. What did he say? He's part of ICE. Listen, the jokes about liberals wearing masks is no longer valid now that ICE is doing the same shit in the middle of the summertime. So when you start talking about people wearing masks, I'm gonna ask you, are you talking about ICE? Get lost, Willard. Apparently Robert Kennedy was not a fan of here. I can't with the old shitbird. Stop crying. I don't know what that means. Didn't pay 4,000 contractors. That's another big rumor of President Trump, that he does not pay his employees. But I will say President Trump, this is why I disagree with anybody that claims Trump is not smart or he's stupid. He knows how to work the system. He has been very savvy at working the system long before becoming commander-in-chief. such as the whole not paying contractors, the ability to use Michael Cohen at the time to make shit go away. He's really good. He is really good at the system, which is also what he was able to use those skills when it came to Jack Smith, Mueller, Fonnie Willis, all of that stuff. I mean, he's beat every aspect of the system at this point. Even the 34 felonies, which were able to land on him, have essentially been useless. I mean, he's been really good at negotiating and defeating the system. So people say he's stupid. People say he's not smart. I disagree. I really disagree. But continuing on the program, we're talking about the notion that Trump has basically on his own, unilaterally overturned the ruling of the Supreme Court, going out and making flag burning a criminal, basically a crime up to a year in punishment. And you heard him just state there, if you caught burning a flag, it's a federal crime. And he said it's a year in jail. And you heard him say not 10 months, no time off. So you're going to do a full year for burning a flag. You heard him say that. So he's not only going to give you a year for flag burning, but here's the problem. Now, because as I stated before, DC is starting to appear as if they don't need a mayor because Trump is running DC. How can a president on his own impose a sentence and state you must serve that whole sentence? Is he now taking the role of judges too? The legislators don't generally get the power to do that. And he's doing it by himself. He's not doing it with Congress, or he's doing it all by himself. How can he tell you it's going to be a year and you're going to do the whole year on his own? So it kind of sounds like he might be taking upon the role of a judge to some degree. That shit means nothing, said Rod S. Well, if it means nothing, apparently he does not know that. You are making assumptions that he's trying to be a dictator. King Finn. I'm not making assumptions at all. I'm telling you what the man just said on video. I tried to bring up a guest. We'll go to the next guest because that guest did not come up. But just so you can hear some of this again, because I know some of you folks have tuned in recently, tap the screen, get the likes on up to 20,000, THOU. If you're watching on Instagram, feel free to follow the program. You're watching on YouTube, give your boy a sub. We don't block, ban, or censor any damn body. This is an open forum program. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with Q. Everyone gets to speak regardless of your political affiliation, regardless if you want to criticize anyone on the program, including my ass. That's how much we favor free speech here. It's all about open forum. Here's Trump.
And I don't think they care about it. So we want to close up the Washington buildings, sell the buildings off, let somebody else get rich with the real estate because...
Okay, real quick, he's talking about closing the buildings in D.C. and selling them off. What good is the mayor in terms of balancing her town's finances if this dude comes in and sells off all the fucking real estate of value? So I keep saying, I don't see why a mayor is even needed in D.C. anymore.
It'll be a crime-free city. By the way, speaking of that, anybody murders something in the Capitol, capital punishment, capital punishment. If somebody kills somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C.
Now, some of you folks favored it. That was not what I wanted to play. I wanted to play the flag burning thing. We'll just go ahead and keep it moving. Trump wants to sell D.C. to Russia. I don't know who he wants to sell it to, but here's the problem. I think we've seen from President Trump, whether it's the Washington Commanders wanting a deal to go with the Redskins, whether it is, was it ByteDance? What was the name of the company that purchased Paramount with Stephen Colbert? Anytime Trump has the ability to approve a deal, he wants something out of it for himself. If Trump is selling off the businesses in D.C., the buildings in D.C., some of that money is going to go to him. I can tell you that for absolute certainty. If they get rid of, let's say, the USAID building, which Elon Musk closed. Okay, so they sell that building. The money from that building is not all going to go back to the U.S. government. I'm just going to tell you, anytime Trump is involved in a deal where two people need him to complete the deal, he gets something out of it. He gets something out of it. So those buildings being sold throughout D.C., Trump is going to get some money out of that. This is why folks are suggesting, and you can agree or disagree, like it or dislike it. It's all about free speech here. But this is why folks are suggesting that if the liberals win in the midterms, Trump is going to be getting impeached from every way to sundown. And I don't know everything he's done, but I do feel confident he's probably made money in ways that is not legal, from, insider trading on down. I do, Bitcoin. I do believe he's probably made money since he's been president in ways that could be a conflict of interest or not legal. I do believe that, but we won't know until the liberals get in there. And as TF2 says, keep dreaming. In other words, the liberals are not going to win in the midterms. Well, even if the liberals do not win in the midterms, let's say the liberals don't get back in office for 10 years. There will be records of what is happening during this era. And let's say Trump is long gone, he's passed on. That money is still in his family. He still has heirs. They can still come after Melania and Barron and Eric and Donald. They can still come after those folks. If they can show ill-gotten gains, they do it to American citizens via the IRS. Drug dealers have their mom's homes taken from them because your mom has no business living in this house. We believe she got it with your money. They can come after Trump's heirs, his family, in the future. So let's say the liberals don't win in 2026 or 2028. It's not to say it won't happen in 2032 or 2036. If Trump can change laws the way he is doing them now, understand we are opening the door for a liberal in the future to be able to do all of this stuff as well. All of this stuff as well. Remember, Trump has deemed the crime in Chicago as an emergency, and he wants to send in the National Guard. Now, even though the statistics show that the crime is worse in St. Louis and Memphis and Baton Rouge and places like Little Rock and New Orleans, he skipped the line with Chicago. So if he can do it, somebody else can do it. Somebody else can deem that something is an emergency, whereas it might be happening somewhere else even worse, and they just pick that city because that's what they want to target. Just understand this is like opening up a portal, or some might say a Pandora's box. If he can fit through the portal, other future presidents can too. So just understand it. Anyway, looking in the comments though, he doesn't care. He is on the last stage of the game. He wants hyperinflation so that he can see zeros in his bank account triple. Well, like I said though, if he makes money from ill-gotten gains, that's not stopping future Democrat administrations from going after his family. Remember the whole, what is the girl in Letitia James in New York? Remember that whole $500 million case that he just had thrown out? That's based on stuff that's 10, 15 years ago. So they can go after him for what he's doing in 2025. In 2040, it won't be him, it'll be Melania and his other heirs. Barbecue shrimp, is that what I'm reading? Good evening, welcome to the program. Trump is fixing Biden's wreck. I think Trump is doing a whole lot more than fixing Biden's wreck. Barbecue, good evening.
What's up, handsome? David E. here.
Good to have you. You know what I say, always hanging around like Mike Pence on January 6th. So I'm asking, do you favor Trump outlawing the burning of a U.S. flag?
It's ridiculous. I mean, he may be able to get the Supreme Court to reverse it, but, it's just typical of him, entertaining his base of idiots. The MAGA is the lower order of Republicans, the lower order of thinkers in this country. They're easily entertained. They cheer, they applaud his every vulgar action and excess of authority. This is what we're dealing with.
Well, you say they are the Lord.
It may take decades to reverse the harm that he is causing on our institutions and our country. But we'll overcome it at some point. He won't live forever. He's a decrepit bastard. He's demented. He's losing his faculties. He's just a walking scumfuck. And, that never wins. It never wins. It may lead for a while but he and his people, they won't win.
Wait, hold on, hang on. You're saying it never wins. That is all he is doing, with all due respect, Barbecue. The man is winning every damn time he comes across a challenge. He is defeating the courts, defeating liberals. How much more winning can the man do?
The economy is starting to turn. The jobs numbers are down. He's removed he's attacked the institution of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, as he has all of the institutions. He can manipulate those numbers, but he can't change the economy. He can't force prosperity among the ranks of these uneducated and unskilled people.
Okay,
it's gonna continue to compound, and people will eventually be faced with the reality that they've bought a pipe dream, and they have not been able to move forward with the times. They don't have the capacity to move forward, or the talent.
You sound like
and they're gonna get left.
Yeah, you sound like my previous caller. Real quick in the comments, Kenneth Kaiser says this show has gotten worse and worse. That's because I can't get enough of you goddamn MAGA supporters to come up on the program. We don't block, man, or censor you, but the fact is, the minute you start criticizing Trump, a lot of MAGA runs away, even though they claim that's what they like is free censorship. So come on the program and make this shit better, Kenneth. Go ahead, keep going there, Barbecue.
They cannot entertain an educated conversation with facts. These jobs numbers run in cycles. They go up in a cycle, they go down in a cycle. This job numbers turning, or the beginning of a down cycle. The inflation numbers are going up. It's the beginning of a down cycle. This economy is not going to be good in a year.
But I'm gonna tell you the same thing. I'm gonna tell you this.
We're not going to suddenly be able to buy houses. The interest rate's not going to go down. If it does, the cost of the houses are going to go up. People are not going to be able to afford houses. It's not going to get any better.
Yeah, I hear you. You, like I said, you sound just like my last caller, but I'm going to hear you and raise you with the liberals have been saying this shit forever. I mean, here it is, almost the end of the year, and what the liberals stated was going to happen earlier in the year has not culminated. The fact is, the price of fuel is still somewhat manageable. Groceries are not great, but they're not that bad either. So the liberals projected the economy would be far worse than it is right now, and it's just not there.
I don't know what you mean by far worse. The price of groceries are up. Rent is sky high. The people cannot buy houses. The cost of automobiles, the vehicles have gone up. People can't afford new vehicles. I mean, what are you talking about?
Well, they're talking about the fact that interest rates, I think Powell is now indicating they may be dropping interest rates soon. I mean, it's not great, as I stated. It's not that bad, though. Even with all of the ridiculous tariffs people are complaining about, you still can survive and live similar to what you were living like under the last days of the Biden administration. It's not that bad.
During the pandemic?
Huh?
During the pandemic?
That's different. That's different. I'm talking about when Biden left office.
Is the good old days?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying when Biden left office in December of last year, things are not that much worse or better now than they were under Biden. So what I'm saying is it's not like Trump got in there with these ridiculous tariffs and things that he's doing, and America has gotten out of control and nobody can afford to live. People are still getting by.
Handsome. He's been in there 7 months. The numbers have turned. The job numbers have flipped. They're going down. Interest rates are going back up. Groceries are going back up. What do you mean they're good? It's not good. I mean, you may say it's good. It's not good where I live. The houses, the for sale signs in front of the houses are staying there a month and 2 and 3 months longer than they were before. Houses are not selling like they were. I mean,
Well, here's what I'm asking.
I know you try to lay a level argument out there, but I'm not. You're not selling me, dude.
Here's what I'm asking. Are you telling me that you could afford a car without a problem during the last days of the Biden administration compared to now? What I'm saying is, what has Trump done that's so much worse now here in August compared to the last days of the Biden administration late last year? I mean, all this time last year, August of 2024, is it that much worse now?
The tariffs, the covered the cost of the tariffs. They're trying not to lose their market share. They cannot continue to pay the tariffs without raising their prices. They are resisting raising their prices so they don't lose their market share. But as the tariffs stay in place, as it moves forward, they're going to have to edge their prices up. That's going to add to the inflation numbers. It's going to add to the cost of everything going up. And that's not what people are prepared for.
No, I agree they're not prepared for it, but what I'm saying is the liberals have been predicting this, saying it was going to happen by Memorial Day, then it was going to be Independence Day, now it's Thanksgiving. Some are even going out as far as next year. The point I'm saying is they keep predicting this is going to happen, and the days they're predicting that when it takes place, those days are coming and going, and it's not there. I mean, they're predicting it kind of...
I ask you what positive has happened.
Well, when it
You're
comes...
saying what the liberals predicted hadn't happened. What positive has happened?
Well, the right, now I don't agree with any of this, but the right favors all of the firings by Elon. They think we're saving a ton of money. They favor the tariffs. They think it's bringing in a ton of money. This is what they're answering for the positives. Me, the jury's still out. I haven't seen any positives from any of that shit yet, but they favor that.
How has that affected Main Street or the average man's pocketbook?
No way that I know of.
It hasn't.
No, no way that I know of, but they favor it.
We're
Yes.
still talking. We're still looking at the first year. We're just getting started with this sack of shit. So, the best is yet to come. I promise you.
So I guess it goes without saying you're somewhat, just a little bit unhappy with the Trump administration.
A little bit unhappy with him. I think he's a fucking criminal.
Damn.
He's coddling Putin. Nothing he said he was going to do to Russia has happened. He's threatened to put sanctions on Russia for 6 months. He hadn't done anything. Now he's riding around with a fucking war criminal in the beast. He's showing a picture of him and Putin together like he's a fucking ally. He's a sack of shit.
You pull no punches. I will say this. That's an area of the conversation I can't. And I generally can see both sides of an issue, but the fact is we were told getting rid of Biden, we had Trump in there, now we had a leader the world respects. And it's hard not to agree with you that Trump looks really weak compared to Putin. He gave him a 50-day threat. He narrowed it down to a 10-day threat. Then he said, we're going to have a meeting in Alaska on Friday, which was about 3 weeks ago. And he stated then if nothing came out of that, there was going to be strict sanctions on Putin. He's made so many threats against Putin and has not followed through on them. It's pretty clear at this point Putin is not afraid of him. Even though MAGA suggested that flying bombers and fighters over Putin's head was some kind of show of strength that was going to intimidate him. So I can't argue with no more. The proof is overwhelming that Putin is not afraid of him.
A football game, it doesn't mean shit. The strikes in Ukraine have increased since Trump took office. He's losing in Ukraine. He's losing with our allies. He got mad because he wanted everybody to repeat that he obliterated
They did it. They did it. Everybody who mentioned what happened in Iraq used the word obliterated.
And he's faced with Iran becoming a nuclear power, having a nuclear weapon while he's going to be in office.
That ain't going to happen.
He's not going to stop that.
Yes, he is. That ain't going. Iran is not going to get a nuclear bomb under Trump. I don't believe that.
Says who?
I'm going to be on the side of Trump. I do believe that Trump would never, because Netanyahu is going to monitor the hell out of Iran because they're going to be the biggest enemy if Iran gets a nuclear weapon. Netanyahu is going to let Trump know, and Trump is willing to go, the extra mile to make sure that doesn't happen. I don't think there's any chance of Iran getting...
The war hero is going to keep it from happening, huh?
He said a war hero.
Shit referred to himself as a war hero.
Did he really?
Talks to these fucking idiot-based people of his. These fucking idiot maggots. This is what he tells them. He's a war hero. He diminishes every person of bravery, of education, of credibility, of morality. He diminishes every person in this country that he can, so that he can elevate his degree of fucking scumfuckery to his base.
Did he really refer to himself as a war hero? I didn't catch that one.
He said he said Netanyahu is a war hero, and he said, and you can, I guess you could call me one too. I sent the planes into Iran.
Wow.
Exactly what he said.
Yeah,
He
that's.
said, I guess you can call me one too.
It's interesting.
Referred to himself as a war hero, a fucking draft dodger.
Wow. It's interesting that would come up.
Behind bodyguards his entire life, referred to himself as a fucking war hero.
It's interesting that would come up because when Obama used SEAL Team 6 to go get bin Laden, everybody was saying that Obama was a narcissist for taking credit, saying all my orders were no, it wasn't you, it was actually SEAL Team 6 that did all the work. But if Trump is calling himself a war hero, I guess suddenly the same people who didn't like Obama saying that he was responsible for taking out bin Laden are suddenly okay with Trump referring to himself as a war hero. Barbecue, I gotta move it on though. You didn't pull any punches.
It was nice dropping in with you for a moment. Hope to catch up with you more often. Keep fighting the good fight, my man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Come on through anytime. Anytime.
Yep.
All right. Moving on. That was Barbecue. Looking in the comments. By the way, for folks who are asking what the number is, we don't have an actual number. That would be a great way to do things. I don't know if I can make that happen. I don't know what the procedure would be to even get an actual phone number. But if you have TikTok or if you have Instagram, that's where you can go and actually come on the program live. That's where your audio portion of the show is coming from. You're hearing folks calling in. There are folks on the internet just like you that just happen to be on a different platform. Unfortunately, YouTube does not allow folks to call in. Otherwise, I would absolutely entertain taking on YouTubers because that's where most of my beloved MAGA is. And by the way, we are MAGA friendly. We don't block, ban, or censor any damn body. MAGA are my preferred guests. They've been that way. It's been that way for about 4 years now since I started the program. MAGA's always been a preferred guest. Unfortunately, since Trump got in office and now he's in a hot seat, he's getting the criticism as opposed to when I started the program where Biden and his economy was getting most of the criticism. I lost a lot of MAGA callers because they don't like hearing Trump get criticized. But when I was overwhelmingly criticizing Biden most of the time and not Trump because Trump was not president, I had more MAGA viewers than liberals. So that kind of works that way. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. Everybody wants to hear their candidate of choice being spoken positively and they don't want to hear anything negative about them. So you start talking negative about their candidate of choice, they leave and go elsewhere. And that's crazy considering how much MAGA often suggests they favor free speech. Real quick, and by the way, if you want to go to those other platforms, they're all listed under the Handsome Liberal. Every platform. We are also on Rumble, X, and now Truth Social. I am going to be trying to do lives on Truth Social and X. I think it'll get really hectic. I'm looking into figuring out how to do that. But I do have platforms on Truth Social, X, Clapper, Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube. All under the same name, Handsome Liberal. We're going to try to set it up soon where we'll be live on all of those simultaneously. So looking in the comments, I've never voted for any president because I don't believe in democracy. Really? But Trump has done more for this country than anyone can name. Oh, wow. I could, who said that? Mike Jones. There should be a rapper named Mike Jones. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. When you say Trump has done more for this country than anyone else, it really depends on what you are favoring that Trump has done for this country. If I don't have health care and Obama gave me universal health care, that would be huge to me, would it not? What could Trump say he's done for me more than a president that gave me universal health care or civil rights? Or there's just a whole bunch of things. I don't know where Trump would get that hierarchy. I would wonder, I guess to answer your question, or better yet to question your statement, I'd want to know what are you focusing on? Because he's likely done something that is very favorable to you for you to make that statement. But there's a whole lot of other people that, like my last two callers, that haven't benefited from Trump at all. So they would never say that. So when you say he's done more for this country, I'd have to know what you are referring to. Here comes the TDS ranting, says Robert Kennedy be in the comments criticizing his ass off. Robert, I love you. I appreciate your opinions. Appreciate your input. You're welcome anytime. Robert, I'm going to go ahead and note you as my favorite insultant. That's my insultant. Just imagine if Harris, I wanted to read that comment. Imagine if Kamala Harris would have kissed the feet of Putin numerous times like Donald Trump does every day. it would not have been favorable to MAGA. It would not have been favorable. In fact, listen, Trump gets a pass on a lot of things I've brought up on the program that probably other candidates would not get a pass on. I brought up a couple of live streams ago before we go to the next caller and tap the screen. We should be at least at 30,000. Come on, now a hell of a lot of lazy thumbs in here. Tap the screen, get the likes up. I brought up a few lives ago that during Hurricane Sandy, Obama appointed FEMA funds to hurricane victims in New Jersey when Chris Christie, who was widely in good standing with the Republican Party at the time, Obama appointed FEMA funds to Chris Christie, went up to New Jersey, met Chris Christie, gave him a hug, and the right tore Chris Christie a new one because he was hugging Obama, fraternizing with the enemy, so to speak. But all of a sudden, Trump has Putin, red carpet. He literally applauded as Putin walked up and then put him in the beast. And there's photos of Putin riding around in the presidential limo with a big smile on his face. And MAGA was in favor of that. I don't understand that. How Chris Christie could take that much criticism for simply hugging what was the president of the United States at the time. And Trump gets none for hugging what appears to be one of the most diabolical dictators in modern times. I don't understand that. I don't have any answer for that. But MAGA was totally okay with Trump meeting with Putin. And by the way, he got nothing out of that. So for folks who were suggesting, well, he's trying to negotiate, he's trying to make a deal, he's trying to end the war, nothing has come out of that meeting. Putin has continued bombing Ukraine like no other. Nothing. In fact, they've bombed an American-owned structure over this since that meeting. So he met Trump to his face, went right back home and continued doing what he was doing. Nothing, absolutely nothing of substance has come out of that meeting. And by the way, Trump, all of his threats of sanctioning Russia and imposing punitive measures, none of that was done. None of it. Just all empty threats. I don't see how Putin would be even remotely concerned with what Trump is saying at this point. Does it make a difference what branch of the military I'm in or have been in? Not on this show, it don't. You don't need to be in the military at all. You don't need to be in the military. If you're a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, you still have a right to make a statement on how this country is ran. You don't need to serve in the military. Obama is special because he was our first black president, but Obama would have been better as a Republican. I don't know. You trying to say Tim Scott would have been a better president? Larry Elder? Byron Donalds? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Let me go back to the box. I don't know about that. Deep thoughts. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Deep thoughts. We're talking about literally going against the Supreme Court and burning the flag, and passing a law criminalizing the burning of the U.S. flag, regardless of what the Supreme Court has said. Do you favor that? Deep thought. Good evening.
Oh, yes. Hello. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yes.
Good to have you on.
Yeah, I think that's something that we had to bring back and take more seriously because, hey, we got to go ahead and get them foreign and domestic just out of there. That's the highest form of insult there is.
You mean burning the flag?
Oh yeah, that's a definite symbol behind that, where it's the highest form of disrespect. It was at one time where it was very looked down upon for people to even wear that as clothing.
Yeah. But what about the fact that the Supreme Court ruled on it? Is it okay for the president to just take a Supreme Court ruling and throw it in the trash and just do what he wants to do, what he thinks is right?
I think we get into those times. I don't think it's really right just for the moral purpose of it, because we got to have this division of our sectors here. But right now, it's getting real nasty. And then me personally, I know that's not right to do. But in the directions that we're heading into, these are some serious times right now where, I think the left is really doing a lot of things to try to destroy this country, and then letting people burn the flag and then getting on the side and just, condoning things like that, robbery, burning a flag and things like that, how hyper sexual.
Let me ask you something, because you mentioned the left and burning the flag and things like that. How do you feel, and I hate to go back this far, but how do you feel about the fact that Trump supporters on January 6th took down the U.S. flag at the Capitol building and put up the Trump flag? And then Trump pardoned them for doing it.
Oh, I think they was just wrapped up in a whole bunch of mess that nobody meant back then, because what was going on back then was just a lot of chaos. I mean, they even showed films of people inside of that building saying, "Look, be respectful," but they had.
We're not talking about them. We're talking about defending Old Glory. We're not talking about anything else other than people going to the U.S. Capitol, taking down the U.S. flag on Inauguration Day, a historic day, and putting up a Trump flag. And you're saying that they were wrapped up. So if you say that they were just wrapped up in what was going on that day, why not make that same suggestion that U.S. flag burners are just wrapped up in what's going on at the time?
No, I just think that was a different moment where
How so?
where folks are outside is doing things like that. But when they was inside that building that time, you got to remember, just like over there in Charlottesville, when everybody say that Trump was saying there's good people on both sides, you got to remember, this politics. This man is trying to keep votes on certain things, just like the Democrats. They do things that's in support riots and everything just to keep votes. You know, the left have nothing but criminals that vote for them, and things, people that have nothing but bad morals. So you got to remember, this is.
What do you mean by a bad moral? I don't get what you said. Nothing. The left, everybody that votes Democrat has bad morals. Is that what you're saying?
I think so.
Give me some examples of that. Give me some examples of your stand bad morals. Give me some examples of those.
I think when we losing control, when they take the rights of the parents away from the school and start trying to get genital mutilations in the kids without the parents' consent. And
Wait. Where the hell is? You know, I've heard that before. What school?
No.
Where is that? Is there any school in existence that has taken a child without the parental consent and performed genital surgery on a kid? Do you have any? Just give me one out of a nation of 350 million. Give me one school that is without parental consent, did something to a child's genitals. Because I've heard that before.
Okay, look, I misspoke, but what I'm talking about is. Yeah, I misspoke. Pardon me for that.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is that gender reassignment where they taking kids without the parents' permission and saying you can be whatever you want, and putting kitty litters in the class saying you can use a bathroom here because you're a cat.
Where is this happening? I don't want to accuse you of misspeaking again, but give me a school that allowed children to have litter boxes in it. Where is this happening at? Because I've heard that before also.
No, this was big news when they were saying that folks can identify as anything they want, and they started putting kitty litter in classrooms saying, all right, if you're a cat, this where you go. Tell me you haven't heard about the things.
I've heard about them. You talking about kitty litter and thinking you a cat. I've heard them suggest that people were actually eating cats and dogs. But just because people tell you something don't always mean it's true. That's why I'm asking you. Give me some examples of where this is actually happening at.
Yeah, well, they have that all over America. Because matter of fact, they took the rights from the states and put it all the way up at D.C. when they had their little chain of organizations with the school, with a school of directors was all the way up at Washington D.C. when they was dictating to what kids can be done in the school, because they took the parents' rights completely out of that. Tell me you haven't heard of that.
I haven't heard. I've heard of everything you're saying in right-wing circles. That's why I said we go left to Bernie Sanders, so I'm having dinner with Q. I've heard this stuff. But in regards to actually putting a name to the school where it happened, maybe having a teacher on Fox or OAN or Newsmax that worked at that school and say, I don't like what my school is allowed. I've never seen them actually give a school where they have litter boxes, gender reassignment. As Trump says, you can send your kid to school as a boy and 3 days later, it comes home a girl. I've never seen any of this stuff in real life with an actual school name attached to it. I just heard about it.
No, that's actual, because that was
what
big
state?
news. I mean,
what state?
Other things is just. I mean, that was nationwide where they took the rights from the states and brought it up to D.C. they just Trump just when he got in office, he just changed it back where he's basically giving the states right to make those decisions, and then trying to give parents the rights back to say how they can have their educations done and what the kids should learn in school, that which should be curriculum and not, morals and what.
What about religion? What about religion? What about religion? You okay with a child being forced to learn about Christianity in schools?
No, I think it's this. I think it depends. The basic foundation, because I grew up with saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think that's good for the country to have pride in your country. But it's up to the parents of what their kids, believe in.
You do realize that there are schools now in some of the Bible Belt states in Texas and Oklahoma that are now forcing Christianity upon the children, and the parents have nothing to do about it. I mean, they're putting the Ten Commandments up in walls. They're using Bibles as part of the curriculum. I mean, and the parents have no say-so in it. They're doing it on their own. Do you favor that?
I absolutely do favor that, because that is the first thing that we should be brought up. And that's what's wrong with us nowadays. We don't have nothing to fall back on when we're going in different directions.
What do you mean by fall back on?
Well, when we start having all these big disagreements and with morals and everything like that, we need to have a basic foundation of what we've been founded on. That's Christianity, the Ten Commandments, and just to have something to say that, you know what, you be nice to your neighbors.
But why would you think that Christianity would do that when we were a far more Christian-based country during slavery, Jim Crow, women's oppression, and even what happened to the Native Americans? During our darkest time, we were far more closer to God than we are now. So why would you believe that bringing back God in everything is going to make us better when the history shows we were at our worst?
No, you gotta remember when we.
I am remembering. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, I'm saying during the 60s, I think that's when things started, where we started dividing families. Feminism has taken over, and then the fathers are out of the homes.
Yeah, but you didn't answer. You didn't answer what I said. If you go back before the 60s, back before the era you said things were happening bad, the further back you go, the more Christian-oriented this country was, and the worse it was to its citizens. So having Christianity as a foundation for American society was not persuading Americans to act right. Folks were actually owning slaves and going to church on Sundays. So I don't understand what you're getting at here.
Folks try to mix things up like that, but bottom line, you got to have something where you have a foundation to go ahead and have some good faith, where you can say things that's good going up and not down, and you just can't take Christianity out of there, period. There's nothing wrong with a little prayer and then starting off with a good day or saying some positive thing, because you can't tell me nothing in the Bible that just starts you off with a negative attitude and a bad. Yeah, there's a lot of people that use it in a bad way and manipulate you with religion, but overall, no, you cannot say religion and doing the right thing and all those basics that religion teaches us, those manners, those courtesies, those morals, that's a bad thing.
I would be more inclined to agree with you that we should have a positive foundation to fall back on. But I'm going to say we've had hundreds of years of history where we use Christianity as that foundation, and we did not fall back in a way that was anything other than negative, diabolical, oppressive, and horrible. So I don't see why, if you want to have something to fall back on, to me, in my humble opinion, based on what has happened, Christianity should be the thing you avoid. Because that is what we used when all of the horrible stuff was happening. Why would you go back to that? Could you not find something else? I mean, go watch a few episodes of Little House on the Prairie or something. But to go back to Christianity after hundreds of years of it being used to commit atrocities on the American people, I don't get that.
No, I think there was some misusage in there, but I don't think you can reinvent the wheel. I don't think you can reinvent the wheel on that. Now, there's been a lot of misuses when people, and you even got people today that manipulate the Bible. I mean, folks that's trans and of that type community is like trying to say that, they don't get their own domination of that religion. They try to manipulate it and say that, it's not acceptable. And you got to think, you got government that get involved with religion, change things up. And then, yeah, that's when it turns bad, when you got
You
have politicians that get inside and manipulate religion.
We have been a nation coming up on 250 continuous years. Is there any point throughout U.S. history, that's 25 decades, is there any point throughout U.S. history where you can think of where using religion as a foundation resulted in a positive America? Out of all of that time, can you think of any era you would want to go back to as a person of color yourself and you're like, yeah, this was the era I want to be in? Can you think of any?
You know what? Looking at the history books, I think I'll go back to the old MLK days. Yeah.
The days before they shot him in the face.
Well, yeah, of course. And then and again, who did that? And you got to remember, government gets involved with that stuff. So you got to remember, it's not religion all by itself. If you're familiar with COINTELPRO and all these other things, I mean, freaking, it's not just, religion is good. So, I mean, I don't want your viewers and everybody that's down there in the chat, don't get discouraged by religion and think that's bad. Government has a lot of involvement in a lot of certain things where they try to use religion to and manipulate the words and say, oh, what we're doing is good. Okay. And like you said, even back in the history with religion, politics was always involved.
So you're telling me government uses religion in a bunch of bad ways, but now you're favoring government bringing back religion?
Well, listen, just because religion is...
Do you really believe this stuff?
Of course I believe that. Because politicians has the power over us and they can manipulate and they can jail us for believing in religion, that I'm going to stop believing in religion, the basic foundation, just because the government is scaring me into do so? No.
It ain't got nothing to do with that, sir. The question is, I asked you clearly, can you think of any era when religion was being used in a positive manner in this country? And your response was, you said
the civil rights movement.
Dr.
Martin Luther King was a reverend, and he based all his stuff was based on religion, and the main thing he was doing is nonviolent.
Yeah, but the country was not using religion. In fact, the same when I say Obama, when Martin Luther King was using religion to unify the black community, his opposition was using the same religion to be opposition. They were both sides of that whole civil rights movement called themselves Christian. In most cases, they were Baptists. The African Americans were Baptists. The Southern Baptists was on the other side. They were all in the same damn religion, hating each other. And that's what you suggested we go back to.
Yeah, because that is where family comes into place. And then we need help with folks understanding what side that they're on and what side are manipulating and what side is lying. All right. So if you make sense out of things, if you're going ahead and I want to be careful with my words when you're using ropes on on trees and things like that, but you're claiming religion, something ought to tell you, look, this side is wrong. So you got to have a little common sense when you're talking about these things instead of mixing it up to the point where folks are getting confused. Because nowadays I see that folks get confused so easily that we have to break some of these things down and let them know. Some of your morals and your own moral compass should guide you to that right direction. If you got two people in there, one a good guy, one a bad guy, you got to use your brain to understand.
I don't understand how you could suggest that folks today are getting confused. If we founded the country with people reading from the same Bible you do today, and they thought they could actually own slaves while doing that, I think the confusion started a long time ago. But Deep, I got to move it on, man. I appreciate you coming through. Spirited debate.
All right.
Doors always open. Thank you.
Appreciate you for having me.
Anytime. Moving on with the program. I see the comments. I can't pronounce the name, but it says you damn right. Says I sound confused. Okay. I'm glad my kids are in Tuscaloosa. Tuscola? Is that what I'm right? Tuscola County, where it's safe. Well, fair enough. The Bible, until you have a mass casualty event, because when we talk about dangerous neighborhoods, we often think about thugs. We don't think about folks who are involved in mass casualty events. I mean, nobody saw Ubalde as the hood. I don't believe Parkland, Florida was considered to be the hood. So understand, you might be talking about your kids were safe until somebody goes in school and dismisses them from class permanently. Trump's casinos, North Bay went bankrupt too. All right. 200 years, brother, over 200 years. No one said shit. Yeah, that's what I was trying to relay to him. Tap the screen, get us on up to about 30,000. A whole lot of lazy thumbs in here tonight. Wow. I can't get 30,000 out of you folks. Few hundred of you in here on TikTok alone, not to mention several hundred of you on YouTube as well. But tap the screen, get the likes on up. Deep Y was right. Nup, you can come on up and tell me. That was absolutely loony, says Mike. Let me go back to the box. Listen, the man, he's entitled to his opinion. Dencal, good evening. The caller does not have a cohesive thought in his brain. Dencal, good evening. Be nice to the guest. Dencal.
I can't help it, man. I can't help it, man.
I take it you heard my last call.
He said the government can manipulate religion, but we should let them put it in schools so we can indoctrinate our kids to tell them right from wrong.
Yeah.
He said we gotta. He said he would have liked to go back to the days when we couldn't vote. You know what I'm saying? That was the we were good. We had good families back then. Man, what in the holy hell?
I wish I could push back. He did say everything. Yeah, I want to go back to the days when we couldn't vote. Those were the good days because our family was together.
He said religion was good back then. Everybody stayed in their place back then.
Wow. Everybody heard it. He did say that. I have never, I'll just say this. I don't talk to a whole lot of African Americans on the program, and I've talked to plenty of Black MAGA. He's the first person I've ever heard suggest that it was better during the era when we were fighting for civil rights. I've never heard somebody suggest that as a Black person. Never.
He just skipped over all of the manifest destiny, the trail of tears. All of that was done in the name of religion. He just skipped over all of that. We got to get back to the days. Well, how in the hell is teaching the Bible gonna make our kids have morals? Morals start at home with the parents.
Yeah. I was having a debate about that with my cousin today when he was talking about how our family grew up and we grew up in the projects and we don't have any felons in our family and things like that. And I told him that because one of my grandparents was deeply religious, one was not, and I told him, I was like, yeah, that shows that you don't necessarily need to have religion. Just raise your kid right. I mean, she wasn't religious at all, and all of her kids grew up and got decent jobs. Nobody had a felony. I mean, like you don't need religion if you actually just you don't need nothing to fall back on if you got yourself. And that's what he was suggesting. We need religion to fall back, not if you're doing things right, but if you're mistreating and oppressing people all over the world, you might need to pray a little bit.
Right, and sitting up there thinking that somehow teaching little kids is gonna the Bible, which is a contradiction in terms itself, because it's got all kinds of killings and wiping out all of mankind for people, for a couple of people on Noah's Ark. You know what I'm saying? All it's doing is fucking confusing kids when you tell them that this is the way to live in this book. And it's got all of this stuff about sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the damn.
And it's constantly threatening with violence in every tale. If you don't do what God says, you turn into a pile of salt, burst into flames, you're going to burn in hell. I mean, it's all based on hardcore threats. Here's what's odd, though, is that they can clearly see how wrong they believe it is to confuse a child with gender options, but they don't see it when it comes to religion. It's okay. Tell the kid you should wait till you're 18 before you choose what sexuality you want to do. But when it comes to choosing what God, we can force that on you as a juvenile. It makes no sense to me. I mean, it sounds like, as opposed to saying don't shove things down my kid's throat, it's more like, I'm okay with things being shoved down my kid's throat as long as it's what I agree with. And that's what it is. Is we agree with Christianity, we don't agree with the LGBTQ stuff. Before we continue, because I want to ask you about this flag burning, overturning of President Trump. But in the comments, one of my viewers asked a quick question. So during those slavery times, who was it the great ancestors were singing to and praying to? Well, they were singing to God, but it wasn't like they came to the country with Christianity already in them. Whatever religion they practiced in the homeland, it was whipped and beat out of them. They couldn't come to this country doing things that the master couldn't understand. They would beat all that out of them. They weren't even allowed to read. So by the time they started singing, yeah, they're singing what the master's God is, but they came originally with their own shit. It just got beaten, whipped out of them. Then, so go ahead.
Yeah, they fed them the Bible because they knew that the Bible would pacify them. The Bible says to obey your master. Like, of course, they would feed that to them. And they would beat any other religion that told them to be empowered themselves. You have to obey is what the Bible teaches you.
Yep.
And it contradicts at every turn about what God said he was doing himself. It says he doesn't make mistakes. And then we say, well, damn, why did he come up with cancer? And why is he killing kids? And why is he allowing slavery for 250, years? Like, why is he allowing all of this horrible shit to happen? And then say, well, you go to hell because you did what I knew you was gonna do.
Like I said, I make it clear in the program, I grew up in church. I went to church a lot as a kid. I even inspired to be a pastor till I was about 8 or 9. If you had asked me what I want to be when I grew up, I would have said a pastor. But yeah, once I started asking questions, and like you said, a lot of stuff is contradictory, hypocrisies everywhere. The way this country was, considering this calls itself a Christian country, it just made me say, no, I don't, what do I want to do? Praise God, do what's right, go to heaven and hang out with Stonewall Jackson and General Lee? I mean, if they're up there, I don't want to be. So the way it's set up is like, it just made me start thinking, I don't want no part of this.
Right. I mean, I understand that religion has its place, for people to feel a certain kind of way, but the organized religion part, when the book that they read as truth is filled with trust me bros, it's hard for me to follow it, knowing that it has been interpreted, reinterpreted 5 times over 5 different languages, over different kings, and
it's been interpreted by man. Yeah, it's very similar to that experiment you do in school where you whisper in one person's ear and they keep whispering around a circle, and by the time the story comes back to you, it's totally screwed up because each person tells it, missing details and things like that. If you think about the Bible allegedly being, inspired by the words of God, and like what you're pointing on, by the time you realize how many people have passed that around, and that because there was no pencil or pen to write down what he was saying, it's all word of mouth. So they're passing it down and down. Yeah, there's no denying, there's no doubt that many of those stories are messed up because it was up to mankind to take his teachings and I guess scribe it on the wall of a cave or something like that and pass it on and translate it to different languages and everything. So yeah, there's a high likelihood it's not perfect.
Right, not perfect. Like that, mostly wrong. I ain't gonna even give it that.
I tried to be nice.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I had a conversation with an old friend of mine about it, and I was talking about some of the things that the Bible says, and he talking about, oh no, you talking about the Old Testament. You gotta read the New Testament, dude. It's been reimagined, re-understood, reinterpreted by a king and the people he appointed, and he has some say-so in what goes in it. Imagine what the Bible would look like if Trump chose a bunch of people to rewrite the Bible.
That would be interesting.
Exactly. What would it say? Trump would be God, and he has been crucified by the Dems. The Dems are all evil and they're all going to hell.
Nancy Pelosi would have horns.
All the Republicans are going to go to heaven as long as they pay their dues, as long as they have their hat, as long as they purchase their hat.
As wild as that sound, I could definitely see Trump authoring something like that. But let me get into the actual topic. Trump overturning the Supreme Court's ruling and criminalizing the burning of the flag. What say you?
Just say it. The Republicans have always been for respecting what the Supreme Court said, but now that Trump comes up and says he don't give a shit what they said, none of them have read the what do they call it, the decision that the Supreme Court comes to when they make decisions. Right. Nobody has read what the Supreme Court said and why they said what they said. All they saying now is, oh yeah, but I think they should go to jail for a fucking year for burning a piece of cloth.
A year.
When I spent 20 plus years fighting for this country for people to have the right to be free and to have their own opinion, you don't have to love this country to be in it. You don't have to love this country to profit off of it. Like, that's nowhere in the Constitution. They're talking about that's forced patriotism.
And I was going to say that's exact, because Trump has also made statements about those who don't stand for the anthem and, the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, that's because he also got caught on a hot mic, if I'm correct, saying that he wanted his people to have to stand for him like Kim Jong-un. It does sound like that is the road that Trump favors, is forced patriotism. Either you patronize America or you face some type of criminal punishment. That's what it sounds like, forced patriotism.
Did you see the big ass mural, the big ass painting that he had them throw over the side of like the Department of Labor or some shit? Like, it's a big ass, just like Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping, how they had like the pictures on their buildings and stuff. Right. He got a big ass picture of himself on the side of like the Department of Labor.
No, I haven't seen that.
It's the department. It's one of the government buildings. I'm not 100% sure.
Wow.
It's the Department of Labor. But yeah, it's crazy.
So after he leaves, we could end up being like Iraq, where you got, Saddam Hussein statues and shit everywhere. I mean, that could end up being, I see Department of Labor banner. Wow, I had not heard about this. I do see a photo of it here. Yeah. Let me see if I can bring it up on the screen here, but I do see what you're talking about. Wow, that's crazy. That's fucking crazy. And obviously that was purchased with U.S. tax dollars. Yeah.
It's like the $200 million ballroom and the reorganizing the Rose Garden and all of the gold shit that he put inside the White House. They're talking about he paid for it with his own money. Why the fuck? You a tenant. You a tenant for 4 years in the White House. Why the fuck is you decorating it like that's your permanent